Hey friends, I'm glad you're back. It took me a while to get this one done, but I think you'll like the stories. Let me know in the comments. But before we get to the stories, let me welcome the new viewers. Thank you for choosing to listen to this. If you like glitch stories and other unusual tales, you found the right channel, because that's all we do, several times a week. So if you want, subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and you can still decide to unsubscribe later. So thanks all. And now the stories. First glitch. Well, you wouldn't believe what happened to me last week. Honestly, I'm still a little shook about it, but hey, maybe telling it will help me make some sense of it. I live in this little town up north, quiet as a church mouse, I tell you. You wouldn't expect anything out of the ordinary to happen here. The smell of pine trees mixed with the crisp, cool air can make you forget all the craziness of city life. All right, so I'm up real early, like the crack of dawn, see, taking my usual stroll around the town. Not too many folks around at that time, except for old Mr. Jenkins walking his brown lab, Molly. It's misty to the point where the town's got a pinch of mystery to it. You know what I'm saying? Just enough to let the imagination go for a little run. On impulse, I decided to change my usual route. Wanted a bit of a change of scenery, and there it was, a house I hadn't seen before. Now, mind you, this wasn't your normal, everyday white picket fence type house. It was a compact, quaint little house with an oddly colorful door smack in the middle. A shocker in our town of grays and pastels, I tell you. The thing that really caught my eye, though, was the roof, or rather roofs, each with tiles of a different color, almost like a patchwork quilt, barely visible underneath a fresh dusting of snow. As I stood there, gazing at this spectacle of a house, a woman stepped out. Now here's where it gets real weird. The woman, she was me. I mean, not exactly me, but close. Same height, same brown eyes, same nose and lips, even the same unruly hair that I always curse in the mornings. She looked older, though. The hair was starting to gray, and lines of wisdom etched into her face. Now you might think that I'd fled, run, or maybe even fainted, but I didn't. In fact, I felt strangely calm. This woman, this other me, was smiling at me, a kind smile that felt as warm and familiar as a Sunday afternoon. We didn't say a word, just stood there for what felt like a long time before she slowly walked back into her kaleidoscope of a house and closed that jarringly colorful door. I stood there for a moment longer, completely dumbfounded, before I decided to head back home, suddenly craving the warmth of a hot cup of coffee. When I dared to venture out later that day, the house and the woman were gone. The lot where the house stood was now an open meadow, covered in untouched snow, as if the house had never existed. Naturally, I tried to tell people about it, but no one else had seen the house or the woman, not even Mr. Jenkins, who's been living here longer than anyone else. Made me question my sanity a bit, whether my mind was playing tricks on me. But here's the thing. You see, the next day, when I was combing my always rebellious hair, I found a single silver strand. Now, I don't know if it's age, or a subtle hint from the universe about my questions about the previous day, but since then, let's just say I've been staying on my usual morning route with more than a pinch of curiosity and amazement. And, well, a good dash of curiosity. I swear you couldn't make this nonsense up. Next glitch. I've got a story that I just can't get out of my head. It's one of those crazy things that happened to a friend of a friend, you know? But it's so mind-boggling that I can't help but share it. And I love writing, so I'll give it a try. But I swear I did not make up any of this. It's all true. My friend's cousin, let's call her Lily, is an incredibly practical person. She's a teacher, always has her head on straight, and doesn't believe in anything that can't be proven. But this experience she had, well, It left her scratching her head. Lily had gone on a weekend getaway to a remote cabin in the woods with a couple of her friends. Now, this wasn't your typical horror movie cabin in the middle of nowhere. It was actually quite cozy and well maintained. They arrived on a Friday afternoon excited to escape the stress of their daily lives. They spent the first day exploring the surroundings, hiking trails, and even spotted some wildlife. That night, as they sat around the campfire, they started sharing spooky stories. You know, the usual stuff about haunted houses and things that go bump in the night. Everyone was having a good time, laughing and getting a little spooked. But the real craziness didn't happen until the next day. They decided to go for another hike, this time exploring deeper into the woods. The path they took was narrow and winding, with tall trees on either side, almost forming a canopy over their heads. That's when they heard it, or rather, they didn't hear it. You see, as they walked along the path, the forest suddenly became eerily silent. No birds, no insects, no wind in the leaves, just complete silence. It was as if someone had pressed the mute button on nature. And then things started to get weird. Their footsteps became muffled, as if the ground had turned soft and spongy. They looked down expecting to see moss or something, but it was just regular dirt. They kept on walking, getting more and more perplexed. Everything around them seemed to blur together, as if their vision was playing tricks on them. The colors were vibrant, almost unreal, like they were in a dream. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the silence was broken. The sounds of the forest returned, birds chirping, leaves rustling in the breeze. It was as if someone had turned the volume back up. They stopped and looked at each other in disbelief. What had just happened? They decided to turn back and head back to the cabin. But when they retraced their steps, they couldn't find the path they had taken. It just faded away into the forest. After a few moments of panic and confusion, they managed to find another path that eventually led them back to the cabin. They were relieved but also completely bewildered. They couldn't make any sense of what had just occurred. They spent the rest of their weekend in the cabin trying to shake off the odd experience. They even jokingly called it their Twilight Zone adventure. And that's the story. No ghosts, no supernatural elements. Just an inexplicable experience that left a group of friends completely dumbfounded. Even Lily, the most practical of them all, was left wondering about the mysteries of the world. It's a story that makes you question everything you think you know, and reminds you that sometimes life can be even more bizarre than fiction. Next glitch. I have a salt lamp in the shape of a moon that I love. I used to use it as a nightlight, but since the bulb blew 7 or 8 months ago, it became just an ornament on my nightstand because I can never find the right bulb for it. And it's a pain because you have to pull the whole thing apart to replace it. I have one outlet with 2 plugs near my nightstand. It's above my bed near the pillow where I sleep. When the lamp stopped working, I unplugged it so it wasn't wasting an outlet. I use those plugs to charge everything while I sleep, and have plugged and unplugged multiple chargers from it almost daily in the last 8 months. The cord to the lamp just remained laying behind the nightstand unplugged, since it just didn't work anymore. I recently took a surprise trip home to surprise my dad for Father's Day. The whole trip home, I kept having super strange feelings like I wasn't supposed to be there, or that the last-minute impulsive choice to fly home was a choice I shouldn't have made. I don't know, it was weird. The whole trip felt like a dream. After a few days of visiting family, I flew back home, ate dinner, played with my dog, went to bed, woke up the next day, and went to work, and all was fine and normal. It's only a 2-hour flight, so it's not like it completely exhausts me or turns me into a zombie. I went to bed at my normal time. That night after my first day home, I do my same routine. But when I shut my bedroom light off, I notice that my moon lamp is glowing. I was so confused I turned my light back on and noticed the moon lamp was plugged into the outlet above my pillow. The only people who have access to my house, my sister and my boyfriend, acted completely confused about why the hell I was asking them if they replaced a bulb and plugged in a random lamp and swear it wasn't them. The thing is, it wasn't lit up the previous night when I got back from my trip. It lights up my whole room, so I would have noticed immediately, which means it had somehow been fixed and plugged into the wall and switched on that day. Nobody was at my house while I was at work. My door was locked, and I highly doubt anyone would risk bothering my very territorial pit just to secretly replace a bulb and plug in a random lamp on my nightstand. So, was this a glitch or what? Creepy AF, and I can't stop thinking about it. Next glitch. First post. After reading about so much wonderfully weird shit, I wanted to share my own. A little over a decade ago, my husband, Mark, and I met and started dating. We'd been going out about 2 weeks when my confusing incident happened. I was at Walmart with my friend Kay. As I was poking at some cute bras, I spot Mark out of the corner of my eye. I grab a little bra to take to him and ask if he likes it, just to see him blush, 'cause that boy blushes easily. I am almost within touching distance when I realize that it's an older man that looks exactly like Mark. The man was Mark, aged 10 years, and with thick, luscious hair. I remember the smile and eye lines clearly because I adore them and he wore them well. Old Mark ignores me and I just gape after him. When he's out of sight, I go back to my friend, Funny Bras Forgotten. I tell her what happened. I tell Mark later and we have a laugh about the older guy's hair. Mark said he knew it wasn't an old him because he had thin hair that was growing thinner by the day. This incident stuck with me because as time passed, my Mark grew into the old Mark at Walmart. Same eye lines, mouth lines, scruffy beard. The same slightly leathery skin young smokers acquire shortly before they go full elephant ass. Same shoulder slump, limp, and slight hip sway. The freakiest part was when my Mark, now husband, showed up one day in the same light brown leather jacket, old man red plaid shirt, and worn out blue jeans as old Mark I saw years before. The only difference is my husband had super thin hair, not the luscious locks of old Walmart Mark. It's been over a decade and I can't shake the utterly profound sense of WTF I experienced the day my husband turned into the man I saw. I never once told my Mark or anyone what the guy was wearing. I remember because I keep journals and still have that entry. I'm sure it's a coincidence and is nothing remarkable. It just spooked me so badly and shifted my fundamental perception of reality in a mostly good way. I don't know why it stuck with me. I was 19 when it happened, and I'm 31 now. I swear my soul gives a shudder when I think back to the moment my Mark dressed as Walmart Mark. Rereading my journal entry from that day hurts my head. Don't let your kids grow up in sci-fi. It'll utterly ruin them. Next glitch. Okay, I've got a wild story for you. It happened on a Tuesday a little while ago, just an average day, except I was running late for work. I'm tearing up the stairs of my office building, out of breath, and when I finally get to my floor, the place is empty. I mean, totally empty. It was weird, right? All the computers were on and coffee was still hot in the pot, but nobody was there. It was just silent, and it gave me the creeps. I thought, okay, maybe everyone is in a meeting or something. So, I checked the conference room, and there was nothing but an old presentation on the screen. I even checked the break room, the restrooms, and that gross storage room no one ever goes in, but it was all empty. I was starting to freak out a little. I thought, there couldn't have been a fire drill. No alarms, no fire. Alien abduction. Nah, my co-workers are just as boring as I am. There had to be some kind of explanation, right? People can't just disappear. So, I pulled out my phone and called my boss, Chris, who's also a friend of mine. He picked up right away and sounded like he was in a good mood. He asked if I had finally shown up. I was like, "What? Where are you?" "We're all here in the office," he said, laughing. I didn't know what to say. I walked around the whole floor with the phone still to my ear, looking everywhere, and there was still no one there. I could hear people talking and typing in the background of the call, but in real life it was just me and the hum of the computers. Finally, I asked, "What room are you guys in?" "We're all here in the open office area," Chris said. I was standing right there, in the open office area, and there was nobody else. As I was standing there, the printer started spitting out a blank sheet of paper. It was like it was trying to tell me something, but I didn't know what. Chris said I sounded like I was sick or tired and told me to take the day off. He also said, "Update your calendar next time, okay?" I was left in that empty office feeling like I was in a completely different world. I went home, and the whole way there I was trying to figure out what happened. My head hurt. The next day everything was back to normal. My coworkers were all there just talking like nothing happened. And I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want them to think I was crazy. But every night I can't help but think about that day and wonder what happened. It's something I'll probably never figure out. Next glitch. Well, I guess there are some things in life you just can't explain, no matter how hard you try. That's what happened to me during a day at work, just like any other. Back when I was working in the city, manning the front desk at a very slick, high-profile residential building. I must have been in my early 20s at the time, and let me tell you, there was never a dull moment in this job. But this particular day, gosh, it takes the cake. On this strange day, the usual hustle and bustle of annoyed residents, delivery guys, contractors, and movers faded into the background as I witnessed firsthand a peculiarity I'll never be able to explain. I mean, we all know that day-to-day life can make us witness stuff that's simply goofy, but what I experienced, I'm not sure goofy even covers it. So, I was right on the desk, keeping an eye on the entrance, when in walks this guy, right? Average-looking guy, probably around 6 feet tall, rugged beard, balding spot in his hair. He was wearing a gray suit. Nothing extra, just a regular dude with a kind of familiar face. He rushed past me with a polite kind of distracted nod, headed straight for the elevators, and punched the button for the 19th floor. I didn't think anything of it, just another busy bee. But here comes the twist. Around half an hour later, the same friggin' guy walks back in through the front entrance again. It was as though he had just entered into a loop and walked back in. He nodded at me again, same flustered look, went for the same elevator, and hit the 19th floor button again. Now this already had me a bit unnerved, but I thought, maybe he just forgot something outside and had to go back for it, you know? But when the identical scenario played out a third time, and then a fourth, fifth, sixth, I stopped thinking about any logical explanations. It was the same dude, same attire, same actions, with the same look on his face doing the same darn thing over and over again. You got to be kidding me, right? Like, how does this happen? Is this some kind of a joke? I was almost about to lose my cool when, after the 7th run, as he passed my desk, I called out, "Hey, have you met yourself?" The look of confusion on his face let me know that he didn't understand. He probably thought some low-paid concierge was goofing off. He rushed off anyway, not sparing another second. I immediately called a fellow concierge on the 3rd floor to keep an eye out for the man, and to let me know what he does next. Guess what? No one ever spotted him after he left my desk. It was as if the man and his mystery were only intended for me. Everyone thought I was pulling their leg or that perhaps the shift was messing with my head, but I know what I saw. Clear as day. I've tried looking for some sort of explanation ever since. Checked the security footage repeatedly. Yes, the guy was on there, but just once. Did I witness a glitch in the Matrix? Maybe, maybe not. Until today, every time I share this story, I get a mix of expressions. Confusion, amusement, a bit of pity, maybe. but I'm standing by it because I know what I saw. It's one of those rare life moments that make you question reality, you know? I'm just glad it didn't turn out to be anything more sinister. And that's it for today, friends. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, why not leave a comment or subscribe? See you next time.